Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Remax Real Estate Strategies podcast. I am Jessica Ragimov, one of your hosts, and also the Director of Communication and Brand Marketing here at Remax Hallmark. I am joined by one of our incredible realtors, Jeffrey Starr, who lives and services in the Toronto region. We've had the pleasure of knowing for a few years now, and I'm very excited to have a discussion with him because he has a very unique story and a very unique way in which he was able to build his business over the last couple of years, which I think a lot of you as listeners would be able to leverage and maybe even replicate in order to, stay successful in this business. So, Jeff, so nice to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Likewise. So, Jeff, you and I were talking a couple of weeks ago. I had called you. There was a couple of clients that you were working with, and we got into a conversation. And you had mentioned that you, at that moment, were carrying 11 listings, which is a lot.
Yes.
So you must be really good at managing your time. But I also know that a few years ago, I would say about 4.5 years ago, you joined us here at Remax Hallmark. And 4.5 years ago, you were talking about how your primary focus in your business at that moment was working with tenants and landlords, which I know a lot of agents kind of try to stray away from in their business. But it was really unique because I noticed that you actually, instead of, walking away from it, you actually doubled down and you put your head down, and that became kind of like your bread and butter. And seeing where you are now, it's really amazing. So tell me a little bit about, feel free to introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about your story and those beginning stages. I mean, you've been with Hallmark since the beginning. What did that look like for you? Like, why did you decide to start working with tenants and landlords from the beginning? What was it for you? I know you know the RTA in and out. How has that benefited you? Like, just tell us, who is Jeffree Star?
Sure. Okay. So first and foremost, through various industries, I've been in sales and service for the last 20. During COVID, I decided that a change was in order in my life. So with the support of my husband, I actually studied for my real estate exam, quit my job on a Wednesday, which most people just quit on a Friday, but I decided to do it on a Wednesday because I was super excited. I was interviewing with different brokerages and I found that I was aligned mostly with the staff and support and everything that the brand at Remax offered. And Hallmark was just a natural place for me to go. Haven't looked back and never want to leave. So I'm super, super happy with it. When I officially left my job, all I had was the money that was in my pocket. And I thought I had enough to carry me for 6 months, but unfortunately, as I found out very quickly, I did not. So I also that year was paying off a wedding.
Okay.
So going from a full-time position to nothing and not getting paid for 6 months and running out of money was really hard on me. So I thought to myself, well, what can I do today to make myself money tomorrow?
Hmm.
And waiting 2 to 3 months for a paycheck wasn't going to be an option. So I found out that what I was really good with was connecting with renters because I had that shared experience. Like at
Okay.
this time in my life, I had just owned a home now for 2 years. I rented for 5, so I was able to connect with people quite well. So what I decided to do was, you know what? I need to pay my mortgage. I can get paid in 2 weeks if I focus on tenants. So I just I pushed it and I pushed it. I worked my network as hard as possible. I tried to find all the Facebook groups that I could and convert as many as I could. And I realized at that point that I was actually really good at it. So I kept doing it. I doubled down. I did 18 deals my first year because of it. And I wanted to present myself as a lease specialist. So I actually studied the Residential Tenancies Act, and I have actually a book of real estate law in my cupboard that I would reference every so often because I want to make sure that the clients that I am servicing know that they are getting the absolute best for me, whether it's a $200 paycheck or a $20,000 paycheck. So
Right.
for me, that was important.
I love that. So when you said that you figured out that you were really good at it, good at what was it, the conversion of meeting a stranger online and being able to convert them into a client, or you were really good at just servicing renters?
Both. So I used the Tenant platform to kind of learn how to be an agent. I got to learn negotiation from a standpoint that's not a $1 million house, but it's a $2,000 lease. So the stakes were a little bit less, but I still had to know how to engage the other realtor. I had to learn the lingo for my clients and understand what their needs were and work with that. I actually got myself to a system where I only had to see a person once and got an accepted deal.
Oh, very nice. Okay, and that was all in that. Was that in your first year?
Yep,
So I'm
that was all my
curious to
first year.
know. What did the so what did the first few months look like for you? Like the first 3 months? Did you
Grind.
have what was it? Sorry?
It was a massive grind. So when I joined, it was COVID years. So everyone had an agent. Everything was moving so quickly, and it was also the height of the student market going into university. So I had to work fast.
Mm, makes sense. So did you have any guidance from any colleagues while you were jumping into this, or were you kind of like, you know what? Let me learn as quickly as I can and move as quickly as I can and like figure things out as I'm going through it.
So a lot of it was throwing darts and trying to figure out how everything lands and figuring out what works for me. So I joined as many online courses as I could. So I was in Mentor Mondays. I took as many as BARP courses as I could. I found mentors in my brokerage and outside of it who have worked leases, and these are people who still keep me on the right path today. So I used everything that Hallmark was able to provide for me to be able to advance this section of my career.
Okay. So fast forward a year, you've worked with 18 different sets of clients. You are now into your almost fifth year. Where are you at now in those relationships with your clients? And I'm curious to know, how did you nurture those clients in order to be able to? I mean, I assume you're working with a lot of them now. It's been a few years. So walk me through that process a little bit.
Sure. So I wasn't really good my first year with following up. I didn't really know like really how to do it, or I wasn't really confident enough. So one of my mentors and closest friends now, she gave me a virtual slap on the face in person, not physical, just virtual. And she said, "Jeff, what are you doing? Why are you scared of doing this? You have all the tools at your disposal." And that gave me the motivation to the next day, literally, text everyone in my CRM who I worked with before and ask them how they are. And that started conversations, and that led me to helping them again find other places. And I just kept doing that. Every birthday, they would get a card from me. Every year through my CRM, they would get like a 1 year email. So over the last couple of years, those first tenants that I serviced in my first couple of years have become my buyers now and my repeat landlord clients.
I love that. What is it about working with tenants and landlords that you really enjoy?
So I feel like there's two types of relationships. There's transactional and emotional. And I find that working with tenants and landlords, it's just so much more emotional. And that's the type of person that I am. So I love having a connection with someone and helping them transition into the next aspect of their life, whether that be from rental to home, and finding ways to make things that they didn't think was possible to actually happen.
Okay, interesting. So a lot of those clients have now converted into, I mean, repeat landlords and now buyers. What does, I mean, the next few years look like for you in terms of where you would like to take your business? Like at some point, I find being able to manage a certain number of clients becomes a lot for, one person. I know that you've transitioned into creating and leading a team. So, at what point, I'm curious to know, at what point did you decide that, starting a team might be the right thing for you? Do you think at some point you might solely focus on a certain type of client? Where are you at on that side of things?
Sure. So when I got to the 2 year mark, I got my broker's license. And I didn't do that because I wanted to become a broker. I did it because of how people viewed brokers. So I remember door knocking $10 million homes just so I can get comfortable door knocking. And I was door knocking with a partner. Guy opens up the door. He goes, "Are you a broker?" And I said, "No, I'm a sales representative." My associate here was a broker. The way that he looked at me versus looked at him, that was mind opening for me.
Oh,
And
interesting.
even in my own farm, I was at a listing presentation a couple years back and I lost it in my own farm because I didn't have a broker's title. So I ended up getting my broker's license about 2 or 3 months after that. And as soon as I did that, I started landing more deals. So
Interesting. So it seems like you're speaking the language of the prospective client, even though you may not necessarily think it really changes what your service is like. But so are you using then that language like in a lot of your meetings? I would assume you are.
100%. I use everything that I can to my advantage. Being a broker has definitely helped me land more deals. Running a team. So the way that my team operates is we're both together and we're both solo. So anytime that we go door knocking, we do it together. If we do open houses, we do it together. If either of us have leads, we help each other out with those. So it's a really together team. We like to work cooperatively with each other. And if one of us goes on vacation, the other one can handle everything.
So there's a mutual relationship there. You've mentioned that you guys go door knocking
Hmm.
together or you'll open house together.
Yep.
But what if you have a client that's coming in through your own sphere that
Gotcha.
your colleague doesn't know? Are you guys working that client together as well, or is that separate?
It depends on the situation. So, for the most part, it is separate. But if a self-represented party comes in, then my teammate will deal with them so that I can focus on my one client.
Okay, that makes sense. That's awesome. So, what does the next few years look like for you? Like, what do you have in mind? I know I actually watched online, like you did. I think you got very specific with what your marketing was and what your area was that you serve. You had changed up a couple of your marketing materials. So, where are you now versus how you were operating before? Like, when you were working with your lease clients, were you in a specific area? Was there a certain demographic you were working with? How did you manage to do those, 18 leases in that first year?
So for leases, I just target Toronto. I won't go anywhere else. So the way that I like to work with leases is I need all of your documents up front. I need to verify everything. Then we book 10 showings on an afternoon. We go out, three of them you're going to like. And then from there, we just keep putting in offers until we get one. And normally I would just get the first one that I would put in because I present the offer in such a way that is very convincing. So the way I'm growing my business now is I don't deal as much with tenants specific unless they're repeat and referral clients. I'm dealing more with landlords and buyers and sellers.
You had mentioned that, when you put in your first offer there, usually that gets accepted or worked with just because you put their best foot forward. I'm curious to know because I've seen so many people send in offers with like 12 separate attachments, and it's hard to navigate through the email. So there's clearly some sort of formula you figured out when it came to presenting your clients, right? And showcasing them as the best tenant. And these are things that you and I may know because it's so first nature and intuitive to us. But anyone who's not in your business may not know what that is. So can you walk us through a couple of like what those maybe let's call them tips are with respect to showcasing your client to the best of your
Sure.
ability in that first shot?
So, first and foremost, I realized early on that it's less about who the tenant is when you're presenting their package and more about the relationship you have with the other agent. If the agent likes you, he's going to like your tenant, and then you have a higher chance of getting that accepted versus buying and selling, which is usually about the money.
Right.
So when I present a tenant, I like to give like a whole background story about them. So the first time I talk to people, I have a notebook right beside me. I write about them, where they are in their life, how the last couple of years have been, a little bit about their likes, don't likes, and then I put that into a nice, easy to read paragraph. When I collect all their documents, I make sure that everything is current and up to date because I know within 30 days is what anyone is looking for. I will not attach multiple documents to an email. Being an agent who has represented a lot of landlords, I know that it's super annoying to go through everything. It's not organized. So I send two PDFs. One of them has the complete offer with the rental application on top, and the second one has all the supporting documents in a neat PDF. So all they have to do is just
Merged into
scroll
one.
down. Yeah, and everyone looks at it the same way. You want to see who they are, where they work, how much they get paid, and what the credit is. So I just organize all of that into one.
I love that. And so you know what? It's interesting because this is the stuff that through your experience, you figured out what works and what people are looking for. And at the end
Hmm.
of the day, we are in a service industry. So say, for example, you walk into a store and everything is like a mess. You can't find where the items are. You have to go and look for someone to help you find it versus you walk in and it's very clearly organized. The kids section, this is where the shoes are. It's easy to navigate. And I find that in our business, like ultimately, we are running a business. When you are able to present something in a clear, concise manner, it actually enhances the experience for the person on the other side. And I also find that your clients may not know that you do this, but this is the background work that's taking place that ultimately your clients are hiring you for. And for those agents that maybe are just getting into the business or maybe just shifting from another service industry into real estate, one of the biggest things I'm taking away from just the way you're talking about your experience is the way you present something and all of that work that you do, let's call it the preparation work, really supports your clients in being presented in the best possible way. And these are the things that need to be accounted for when you are starting to work with clients. And if this is part of your value add, we package your documents properly, we know the right way to present an offer, how to do it, then I would say, if it's not already added in your service package, then highlight it somehow. Use an example, help them feel secure that you are the best person to position them in, their moment of offering. So that's really great, Jeff. So you do that within 30 days, you package it up, you attach the two documents. What do you include in like the body of the email? Are you writing them a whole paragraph? Are you keeping it point form? And what's the process? Are you calling the agent first? Are you sending the email then calling them?
Yes, to everything. So, but I don't always do everything, but everything somehow usually gets done.
Okay.
So it really depends on the agent and the type of relationship that I have from them from the very start. Some of them, they don't want to talk to me at all. They just want to get the offer and have nothing to do with me, which is totally fine. Others, they want to actually talk to me and we'll talk through things. So the way that I do the body of the email is I start with the points. So I don't want to surprise agents with anything. So first things I'll put is what the irrevocable is, what the price is, and if there's any conditions that we're adding in. Get that straight out there. And then I'll be like, hey, Mr. Landlord, please allow me to introduce you to my client, Jeff. I've known him for the last couple of years. We've worked together. He's a referral from someone else. In his spare time, he likes to talk on podcasts and be interviewed, and he doesn't have any pets. He's a non-smoker, blah, 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 blah. I'll just kind of go on. Sometimes I'll even include links to my client's social media platforms because I know that personal connection will mean a lot to landlords.
Right.
I've been known to ask my tenants to do like a short little introductory video about who they are and include it, or do a write-up on who they are and I'll include that. So I really try to make it as personal and emotional as possible when I submit that first offer.
Interesting. I really love that because I find if that process is not refined and you don't know what you're doing, like oftentimes the offers or the emails don't come in that way. But I do think that personal touch, obviously depending on who's on the receiving end, can support in, introducing someone. It's one thing to look at it's kind of like looking at a resume. You can read a resume and be like, okay, this person. And then when you meet them in person, it could be a completely different interaction. It seems like what you're doing is you're kind of creating something that's like that middle point between, hey, you haven't met them in person, but here's who the client is. You can decide for yourself whether or not this works for you in terms of what you see in front of you and what you're reading, right?
100%. And another thing that I like to do is I like to do video calls between my clients and landlords. And when I'm working on the landlord side, I always do a video call with my potential tenants.
Okay. Is that in the vetting stage, or at what point would you be doing a call like this?
Sure. So there's two things that I do before any accepted offer. I do a video call, and just to make sure that the person who I've been looking up is the same person sitting in front of me. And then right after that, I pull their credit report to verify. So this is at the very end after all of my diligence has been completed.
Okay. And you also include the landlord client there, or it's just yourself at that point?
It's optional. I invite all of my landlord clients to always be there, but I want to make sure that whomever is going into my landlord's property has been met by either myself or my landlord before anything is finalized. That's important to
I
me.
understand. Yeah, and I definitely agree that added layer of just verification. The beautiful thing is at Remax Hallmark, we can pull reports for our clients. I don't know if you're leveraging
Oh,
that
yes.
that tool.
Oh, yes.
And I sometimes feel like we become detectives in verifying documentation. But yeah, there really is an art, in my opinion, to working with landlords and tenants, and they both have different types of needs. But I think once you are able to really master what that process looks like for you, you're able really to provide the best kind of service to your clients, but also to be able to work with a number of different clients because the system and the formula works, right? And you've just got to apply it to whoever it is that you're working for and obviously cater to their needs, their personalities, so on and so forth. I think that's why probably your sales cycle with your clients is probably a lot shorter than most people's, because you've probably figured out Okay, well, I know that after seeing 10 properties, three of them they'll probably like. And then I know that since there are three that they like, we probably shouldn't be going out to see more. We should offer on the three. So you figured out what your sales cycle looks like, which is fantastic because then, you know kind of how to manage your time and also set the expectations for your clients. Hey, typically it takes about whatever, three times going out before you're able to make a decision. Here's what this is going to look like. So I really love that for you. And I think it's a clear testament to your professionalism and your ability to plan and work. And I mean, clearly last week you were carrying 11 listings. I'm curious to know, and I don't know if you know these numbers, but
Mhm.
how many of those listings that you have are either tenants that you previously worked with or referrals through those tenants?
Sure. So my business lately has been either repeat and referral or just referral. So I would say that all the lease ones came from my farming. I have one upcoming that is coming from repeat and referral. And the sale listings that I have, three of them are referral business. And the last one I was able to convert online.
Very nice. Okay, amazing. So you're tapping into different avenues. What I've also noticed is because you are very actively involved in the Remax Hallmark network, you say repeat referral, maybe someone might think, oh, it's a, referral from a client. But when I think repeat referral, I also think repeat referral within your network of colleagues. And I know that you have been referred clients through our own network of agents through Remax Hallmark. And I don't think, I mean, I know it's not by surprise. There's a reason why. And I think sometimes agents are secret agents. And I know you mentioned in your first year, you maybe felt like you weren't confident enough. But I've known you over the last 3 years now. And you're very pleasant. You always say hello to people, make an effort to show up to be places and to build connections. And I wouldn't be surprised if, in the coming years, you get more and more referrals from your own colleagues.
So what I will say to that, the mentors, and you actually just reminded me about this, the mentors that I found my first year provided me 60% of my clients for my first 2 years. They referred all of their lease leads to me, and I converted them.
Interesting.
So
And I
about
take it that
60%.
those mentors were probably like, I don't know, 10 plus years in the business and didn't want to work with tenants, right?
Yeah,
So
100%.
it's so interesting because imagine you hadn't developed and built those relationships with those people. I wonder what your business would have looked like. Like, I don't doubt that you'd be able to find people online and to convert them, but look at that. You actually leveraged, your network and your ability to build relationships with people. That's where the source of your business was coming from the first 2 years.
100%. And still, those people who were helping me then, they still help me now, and they're still people who I call today for advice. And
I love that.
I make an effort as much as I can to see them every year in December and thank them for the support they gave me at the very beginning.
Yeah, those people hold a very special place. And I find any business owner's heart because those first few years are quite tough. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of, trying to navigate how to run a business and having really great, solid people there in your corner, I think makes the world of a difference, right? Because sometimes the business can be lonely and challenging and you can get in your own head, but it really is great to have good people in your circle. So before we wrap up, if you were having a conversation with you, Jeff, 4.5 years ago, just about to get into the business, just about to, sign your contract with Remax Hallmark, what is some advice? Like, what is one thing you would tell that person?
Sure, save as much money as possible and limit your spending ASAP. That would be the first thing that I would tell myself. The second thing is figure out what makes you uncomfortable and figure out how to do it. And if you can't figure that out, figure out who does it and learn from them.
Interesting. So what is an example of that?
Door knocking, cold calling. So my first year, I refused to do either of those, and it hurt my business. So my second year, I found a person who built his business on door knocking and one who built it on cold calling, and I said, "Let me learn from you."
I love that. That's amazing. And that's Another perfect example of one, being open and acknowledging that there's something that you don't know, really leaning into it, but then also, making connections and building relationships with people that have previously done it and who can probably teach you a couple of things. So, on that note, we are at the end of this episode. Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. You are always open to contributing to our network here.
Thank you.
I wish you the very best in your business, and I know it will always be good. Your mindset is always right. And for those of you that are listening to this episode and intrigued by what Jeff has been able to do, he's an open book. Feel free to reach out to him. Jeff, how can people connect with you?
Phone call, email. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram. Any way that you want to connect with me, just go for it. I love talking with other Hallmarkers and helping others where I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you soon in the office.
Sounds
Have a good
great.
one.
Thanks, Jess.
See you, Jeff. Bye.